Okay, just to confirm, Dangerous Woman is going to be Livia with Jackie, Boudica, Zenobia, Gal Placidia, and a bonus episode with Jackie.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
But what about Cleopatra? Episode 1 was tough on her. You also really left out a lot of important context.
I don't think we're going to have time for that this season.
We really should do something. I think we're doing her kind of dirty.
You can always do a quick hits.
Quick hits. Okay, so I grew up thinking Cleopatra was basically this glamorous seductress who ruined powerful Roman men. Like, she just shows up, bats her eyelashes, and suddenly the Roman Republic collapses. She charms Caesar, she traps Antony, and she almost conquers Rome like the diva she is. Except, that's pretty much Roman political propaganda. And to understand why that story stuck, you have to understand where Cleopatra actually started. Before she ever meets Julius Caesar, Cleopatra is born into one of the most unstable royal families in the Mediterranean. She's part of the Ptolemaic dynasty, Macedonian Greek rulers who've been governing Egypt since the time of Alexander the Great. But by the time Cleopatra is growing up, that dynasty is not exactly thriving. There are palace coups, there are sibling rivalries, and there are forced co-rulerships. And Rome is already interfering in Egyptian politics. So Cleopatra doesn't grow up in some glamorous palace fantasy. She grows up watching power get negotiated, threatened, and sometimes taken. From the beginning, survival and politics are basically the same thing. By the time she actually meets Julius Caesar, she's not some untouchable queen at the height of her power. She's been pushed out. Cleopatra had been ruling jointly with her younger brother, who was also technically her husband, because that's how Ptolemaic succession worked. But court factions turned on her. She's forced into exile, so when Caesar arrives in Egypt in 48 BCE, she's not hosting him from a position of comfort. She's fighting to get her throne back. That famous story about her being smuggled in to meet him? Whether it happened exactly like that or not, the point is this. She needed an audience, not romance. Caesar needed Egypt's money and grain. Cleopatra needed military support and legitimacy. That's not some dramatic love spell, that's just good politics. Yes, they had a relationship, and yes, they had a child, but reducing it to she seduced him makes it sound like Rome had no agency. Caesar was not just some clueless guy who wandered into her palace and forgot how politics works. And then there's Mark Antony. Her relationship with Antony gets framed even worse. By the time they team up, Rome is already spiraling. The Republic is basically in its flop era. Antony controls the eastern half of the Roman world. Cleopatra controls the wealthiest eastern kingdom. If you're Cleopatra, aligning with him makes sense. If you're Antony, aligning with her makes sense. It makes them both stronger, and better positioned against Octavian. Now that's a power alliance. Was there real emotion? Probably. They had children, and they clearly cared about each other. But saying she bewitched him is such a lazy explanation. It ignores the fact that both of them were making strategic choices. And here's where it gets kind of wild. Octavian, who becomes Augustus, needs to justify going to war against Antony. But open civil war between Romans? That's politically toxic. So instead, he reframes it. He turns it into Rome versus a foreign queen. Suddenly, Cleopatra becomes exotic and corrupting, overly ambitious and a threat to Roman virtue. It's way easier to say Antony was under her influence than to admit he was a legitimate political rival. And that frame job absolutely worked. 2,000 years later, we're still repeating it. But Cleopatra did not destroy Rome. The Roman Republic was already collapsing. She didn't seduce a superpower into ruin, she tried to secure her kingdom in the middle of someone else's civil war. And Rome made sure history would remember her as the problem. She lost. So they got to write the ending.